Okay, let's just wait a few seconds and see if anyone will join.
One person left again already.
Hmm.
It's down from 4 waiting to 3 waiting.
Maybe it's our mobile devices. All right.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, the stream is working. So let's start this. Okay, so welcome everyone to the 8th episode of Pre-Humans World. This is a live stream with me, Luciano Petre, and Martin. And I forgot how to pronounce the one in the quotation marks.
It's Kaefer.
It's
So
Kaefer.
it's
All
the
right.
German word for bug or beetle. So it
All
was
right.
an inside joke as a developer.
All right. So Martin Kaefer, like you have been a prominent face in the Wax community since its inception in 2017, right? So, always helping out and mediating where you could, and like you're an IT specialist, gamer, developer, consultant. You're a certified data scientist, right? And a project manager. Like you have so many different skill sets, and you're a fascinating guy, and you studied mathematics and physics, and looking back over 25 years of experience in IT for you, I mean, that's I think more than six more than I have. I think I'm 19, 20 years total in web R&D or something like that, right? So overall, you're involved into basically the Wax ecosystem, right? You're currently an inspector general, right? For the past 3 years. So during this time, you spearheaded and implemented many initiatives like a fair compensation of standby guilds, right? Automated and contribution-based pay, transparency through on-chain ratings, and the Wax parachute system. This is, you got to talk about it because just because of the name, so this, just to name a few. So your focus is always basically to ensure the stability of the ecosystem, right? And like all the changes that are implemented, to serve the community's best interest, right? Being basically an elected member of OIG, which it allows you, I guess, to keep contributing to the development of Wax and the entire ecosystem, right? So you're doing this basically full time or part time today. I'm not sure. You're gonna tell me. And
Yeah, I'm
so,
doing it full time.
all right. So basically, your goal is, uh, for the following period, I guess, is to involve the community in a more like active role in the operations of the OIG, and to overhaul and streamline the election of OIG, and as an on-chain systems, and empower the community by implementing a vote of no confidence in the process. There's a lot of things that you're gonna have to go in one by one. And so all the other things that you want to propose, structural changes and to the guidelines, and in collaboration with the community to improve basically accountability, right? So that's a whole lot of things to unpack. So I want you to start with whatever you feel like is best.
Yeah, so most of the stuff you now had was from my last election as an inspector general. This has been some time in the past, like a year now, I think almost a year. So we actually have elections coming up next month. So a lot of the stuff has already been implemented. The parachute system is something that might actually be interesting for quite a few validators on other chains that are not used to how Wax works. So we have this BP structure. We call them guilds because on Wax, guilds BPs are more than just BPs. They have to actively contribute to the ecosystem by developing tools, uh, cater the ecosystem in any possible way. Whatever contribution you can do can bring you forward as a BP, and you can't just only run infrastructure. At least it's hard if you only run infrastructure. And what we did was guilds are paid So we have the top 21. The top 21 get the regular block rewards, but it's getting interesting when it comes to the standbys, because the standbys are paid on a dynamic pay based on their contributions. The more you contribute to the ecosystem, the more you're paid.
Okay,
So that was, yeah,
so I just wanted you to know that if you wanted me to point at any visual or links, let me know.
yeah, sure. Um, you can go to oig.wax.io. If one is start talking about the OIG and Wax governance, we can talk about
So
we can go to oig.wax.io. But I don't want to hijack the whole stream and only talk about Wax and the OIG, so that was not the plan. But we can start with that to get to know
you can,
me
yeah,
and my
quickly.
ecosystem I am active in. So oig.wax.io is the governance page we have.
All right, so let me just enter this. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
This
Of
is the
course,
first time I see this, by the way. So, all right. So, tell me something about this quickly, and you have a lot of other things that you're working on, right?
yeah, of course. We have the guild ratings, and I think the guild ratings are the most interesting aspect because that's something that's not on any other blockchain I'm aware of. Let me pull it up myself because I don't know the website by heart. If you go to governance, you can go to guild evaluations, and
Okay.
there's a whole paragraph about how everything works. So what we do is all guilds are evaluated and scored essentially every 6 weeks, every 2 weeks on infrastructure, every 6 weeks on everything else, and this determines who is being voted on by us, by our proxy, and the community. This includes the Wax team, then votes in the top 21 through this. And yeah, and then we have, based on this, we have the scaling pay that determines how much the standbys are paid. And this is especially interesting because it ensures that you're paid based on your contributions, and we try to factor the cost a BP has in. So the more infrastructure you provide, the more points you get, and then this directly increases your pay.
How
So
many how many guilds do you have currently?
I think it's 38. One just resigned, so I think we're down to 37.
37. I'm gonna read this
Yeah.
after the live because right now I want you to tell me we're not gonna be able to cover everything you're doing
Yeah,
in this
no, we
live for
can't.
1 hour. It's too much.
So
You're so active, so
I think the most interesting part we had, it's in addition, that's also not on any other chain, is so we have this rating system through the OIG that gives credibility to the guilds and enhances the governance and prohibits stuff like people just collusion. It prevents collusion of voting. So the guilds can't just vote each other in, or exchanges can't come and just vote themselves in with their funds or with their users' funds. So this is stuff we wanted to prevent and why we started the OIG on Wax. It works the same way, but we have a proxy that's the proxy.oig on Wax, and this proxy always appoints the top 21 based on their score. And then the community votes through the proxy, and because the proxy has so many votes, it decides who is in top 21 and who isn't. It's very hard to get inside top 21 without the acknowledgement of the OIG proxy. I think in all time we had this only happen once, and only for a brief moment. So, so in addition, yeah, because you wanted to know about the parachute system, the other thing I developed. Um, so the parachute system is a US dollar based payment system. So we have the regular rewards that are based on the inflation of the chain, what we use as a savings. So I think I think all EOSIO chains have some sort of saving funds. No, I think EOS stopped, right? They stopped issuing the savings. I don't know. Oh, you are frozen. Okay, yeah, I can keep talking. Okay, so we have a parachute system, and the parachute system essentially compensates guilds based on the current US dollar price of wax. So if the wax price tanks, the issuance of tokens to the guilds is increased by taking some saving funds. So it does not directly correlate with the US dollar price, but for every like 5 to 6% the US dollar price of wax goes down, the pay increases by like 3 to 4%, something around that mark. I think it's actually for every 7.5% the price goes down, the payout goes up by 7% right now from a specific median value. Um, it's it's a price, not a price safety mechanism. It's infrastructure. It's an infrastructure safety mechanism. It ensures that our guilds don't go broke by providing the infrastructure. So we want to prevent our ecosystem from collapsing because BPs can't fund their infrastructure anymore. Yeah, but I think you're still frozen and people can't hear you. So I'm having a monologue and answering questions. Yeah, okay. Because he said he include null wrote he can't hear you. I can hear you. Yeah, I can keep talking. I can just repeat your questions. Yeah, that's the parachute system essentially. The vote of no confidence we're talking about, that's already implemented. So technically, guilds um, can have a vote of no confidence to have an IG removed and start a new election. So if there's ever any collusion of an IG with any guilds, everything is public. All the ratings are public. So yeah, yeah, he can't hear you.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna fix it. Tell them I'm gonna fix it.
He's fixing it. He's fixing it.
Yeah. All right, so I'm trying to fix it.
But yeah, it's a
Okay,
fun
I
thing,
think
and
it
I
should work
think the
now.
whole governance on Wax is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool aspect of Wax, and the governance in Wax. So
All right, so the NVIDIA broadcast works now, but I'm not sure how to reset it. So I'm just gonna maybe do
oh,
this.
now he hears you,
Okay, at least
but he can't see you.
there we go. I think he can see me now. Everyone can see me now, right? Is the issue fixed? I don't know. All right,
Yeah,
so
no, we see the whiteboard behind you, but not you. Oh, now there you are.
yeah, it's a little bit delay, you know how live stream works.
Yeah.
So go ahead, show me something else that they're working on because so this is you talked about basically the BPs, the block producers for people that don't understand, this blockchain slang, and you know you talked about parachute a little bit, right?
Right now, I'm mostly working on overhauling the whole governance contracts. So back in 2020, we developed the first iteration of the OIG election contract, and that was based on Telos Decide to some extent. But because we didn't have the direct hooks into the system contracts for the election, there is a lot of workarounds and everything. So and also it was my first real big smart contract in Antelope, and a lot back then still EOSIO, and
How
I would
big?
do a lot different these days, and a lot improved and changed in what you can do. So I want to redo that entirely before my next election is up, so it's up and running before I potentially leave the office, and same for the whole OIG system contracts. So there's a lot of multi-sigs going on to control what the OIG can and can't do,
Mm-hmm.
and right now, a lot of stuff has to be done manually. So we have to manually create the multi-sigs. We have to manually start elections.
Mm-hmm.
This is all stuff I want to collaborate in combination with the OIG with the election contract. I also want to update how the control is handled inside the accounts and everything.
Okay.
So that we essentially only have the timeline and everything else happens automatically on the blockchain. And we'll also probably going to go into the system contracts and get the hooks into the system contracts.
You said you wanted to clarify the mistake that I made with the title, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I hate that people call it EOS chains when there's no EOS chains. Because this is something we had to deal with a lot. Because the whole, yeah, you're just an EOS fork, Wax is just an EOS fork, Telos is just an EOS fork. It's not EOS forks, it's EOSIO chains, and
Like this.
EOS is also just one EOSIO chain.
Yeah, EOS.io, right? So
Yeah, EOS is one EOS.io chain. So and yeah, this annoyed me a bit.
yeah, because
And a lot in the past because people confuse it a lot,
yeah,
and then they say, yeah, but Wax moved from Ethereum to EOS, and Wax was a Ethereum product, and now it's an EOS chain or on EOS. And I think it's important to keep this separation so people understand that there is more than just one chain, and it's
hmm
not EOS and everything is on there. That's
hmm
like the Avalanche approach, where you have Avalanche and all the sidechains that supposedly tie in. I don't know if it ever works. It's supposed to,
there's a lot
but
of confusion.
there's a lot of confusion. So yes, the chains are growing to tighter together with IBC being natively integrated and everything, but it's still different chains. And
There's
yeah,
also a lot of confusion with more basic terms like layer one or layer zero. For example, I always have to explain to people,
yeah,
and it's actually fair debate. I mean, personally, for me, when I think about these layers, I think about like the layers of an onion, right? So, of course, the most basic software that you run on, if you think about it as an infrastructure point of view, it's like the protocols that allow us to communicate, like Internet Protocol, but all these are based on the operating system, right? So, we
yeah,
talk about operating system, we talk about Linux. That's the first layer for me, right? But then if you talk about blockchain, of course, the native coin, the native software, like the first core of the software, right? The piece that is most important that has the native coin wrapped inside of it, that's layer zero. Anything else, like for me personally as a developer, if you add any other functionality, whether it's to the blockchain as an extension or a dApp or something else, a token, a smart contract, that for me is sort of like a layer one, right? Like you have in
yeah,
programming in an array, you have zeros. It starts with zero, right? But it's the first place, right? So
yeah. No, but yeah, we have the layer one blockchains, and then we have layer two blockchains, and I'm not sure about the whole layer zero thing. I think it's marketing. To me, right now, maybe I haven't dug deep enough into it, but to me, the whole layer zero thing is like marketing buzz.
it is. I mean, it's the same for Web three. Any new term, and it was crazy for any new term. Like
Yeah,
like people use Web three in marketing in I don't know. I should say different ways, but some use it in very very stupid ways. Like has nothing to do with it, and it's like it's not a software version, it's not a release, it's not a whatever, it's just a period of time like that we are in, and we call it like that, like you used to describe like World War I, World War II, right? The period of time, right? So Web 2 for me was up until the year 2000 when everything was static, read only. And then after
yeah.
that, we built more sophisticated interfaces that allow users to engage and to write and to publish content. That's Web 2. And currently, we started giving users not just the ability to publish, but also to own, to have ownership, a piece of something bigger, right? So this is basically a little bit of Web 3, but there's more things to be considered, like AI and all this stuff that is going on.
I think it's just a tech era. It's a
Yeah.
tech era we are in, and we can call it Web 3, we can call it the metaverse, we can call it whatever.
hmm
And with all this, it's always about marketing. It's always about hype. It's always buzzword bingo,
Mm-hmm.
because that's just how the markets work and how the economy works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not about the value you provide, it's how you sell the value you might provide.
So for those who don't know, this live stream or some of the things that I am involved in, I've been involved in basically a little over a year ago. I started getting involved into the XPR network community. It was used to be called Proton Chain, but now it's XPR. And I'm always trying to look left and right and to see what my other colleagues or my tribe is doing with the the source of everything, right? Because everything comes from somewhere, right? So for us, in XPR network, they're currently working on AVM, uh, which will allow XPR network to move to Metal blockchain and adding futures, I guess, on Metal X and more features. Working on Metal AI also. There are some, projects and initiatives within the community, but there are also some concerns that I think you can address. I'm going to let you address it and maybe draw a comparison or a parallel to Wax or to other blockchains that are based on EOS or EOSIO.
I think the most, I'm not sure if it's a concern. I think many people were frustrated with the price action, as it is with every chain. But on Proton, the big thing was the minting and the issuance of this huge amount of fresh tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the delusion is brought into the chain. So everybody that was just invested and is not looking into the logic, why it was done and how it was done,
Mm-hmm.
maybe
It's a
I don't
fact.
want to judge how it was done. Um, but if you look at it, it dilutes the value of everybody that is holding token. So the question, of course,
Yeah.
is what would have been worse? Is it worse to dilute the value of the tokens, or is it worse for the project to die because they don't have funding anymore? But still, from a from a holder perspective, it's very frustrating.
Okay.
And I think it was also frustrating for the guilds, for the BPs on Protonet's BPs, because I heard about a lot of guilds that complained about it. And
So I
some
agree
have,
with what you're saying. I think uh, doubling the supply is something that I don't know if it was maybe because they are on KuCoin, which is a bigger exchange, and a few other exchanges. I think I'm not sure. Um, it's an inflationary, like
yeah,
the native token on on this type of chains are by nature is inflationary, right? So you can issue new tokens anyway. So the fact that they issued it in such large quantities all at once was a
yeah,
big shock, right?
yeah,
The plan and the proposal was, I mean, the intention behind it was very good. I all agreed with Marshall, everything that he was doing. I read it very carefully. I did voice some concerns against it at the time in the community. There was some discussion. Nobody was kicked just because they had a contrary opinion. But indeed, some of the BPs left because I guess it's they sort of like saw not necessarily that they don't have a future in this network or that it was a very very big issue that the token was worth half of what it was worth or something. Over time it would average out or somewhere. It's just that it's like it came out of nowhere, sort of like it was
yeah,
sort of like more in like inner circles and not communicated properly. So I think it's not I'm sticking with XPR for now. I like what they did so far, the tools, the initiative, the devs that were and are in the core team are very good devs, but the way they communicate things, the way they manage some things, for me personally, are a concern. But I'm still going to support them, and I'm trying to always communicate these concerns and try to reach them. Lately, I have this, for example, they have this grant system, right? We can talk about grants, by the way.
yeah.
So, or ecosystem traps, grants, for in this case for XPR it's not like that, but but it's just very very hard to get a grant approval from the community, and this for me is discouraging as a developer that is concerned about the community of developers
Yeah.
in this ecosystem, because I invested everything I had over a year of work into learning and connecting with people in this community, right? So for me, it's a concern from that point of view. But I think if we keep the discussion going and open, I think they are open to feedback. So I have this grant right now. I don't know if I can show it to you because it's public. It's not right. So XPR. There we go. I think this is my grant application that I submitted in the trying to get basically an approval from the consortium, which it seems to never come. And it's been so much time. It's been like a month or more, and now
A month is
tried.
nothing.
Yeah, I in this space, right? But it's sad because I'm trying to, like, the work I'm doing on this project, which is called freehumans.world, is basically a gamified social media network with 100% value distributions. Like, for example, Patreon has 95% value distribution because they share 95% of the revenue with their content creators, right? So in this network, I've basically conceived of a way to give 100%. And there are a lot of cool features that I want to develop for this network. The team, all the milestones is very, very detailed. And I just don't see, like, the grant system is there, but they're not really. They had someone at one point, which was more sort of like an attempt to get more involved with the grants, and now I get replies very, very. It's very hard to reach them, and so as a developer who is trying to do something for this ecosystem, right? Open source, by the way, it's GPL 3.0. I'm really concerned about the communication. That's my thing here, right? So I want this to improve. If this improves, I think everything will start taking off in a good way. But I'm always trying to look out for my neighbors and see what is going on with you. So I want to know, like, what is the situation in Wax or compared to what I'm experiencing.
I think we have our flaws when it comes to the grant system too. So we do have a grant system. You can find it under labs.wax.io.
Let's go.
But it's very limited in what is funded. So we only essentially fund no-profit projects that directly benefit the ecosystem. So
The
at
interface
least,
is much nicer.
at least that's how it's supposed to work. And it does in most of the cases, but it's very hard to get a grant approved. And it also can take 4 to 6 weeks.
I mean, that's fine. If
So, and then every milestone has to be evaluated. And this sometimes can also take 4 to 6 weeks until you get your milestone approved. Because our grant system works in a way that you have to have the grant approved, but then you need to deliver the milestones before you're paid. I know a lot of other grant systems give you the money up front and then expect you to develop something. And in
Okay.
Wax, it works the other way around. You have
All
to
right.
make your proposal with your milestones, and then you're paid for each milestone you
That's interesting.
achieve.
Yeah, that's also fair. And to be fair, on XPR, if I go to XPR, let me go here from Google. If you go to the grants, there are projects that got approved and things are moving. Like, I did have one proposal that got rejected because I have to take some responsibility for it because I didn't basically communicate or promote it in any way in the community. I was just relying 100% on the system itself, and just I imagined that there are people just watching there and just waiting to vote with their tokens, and right. So you go to basically governance or something like that, and then you go to grants, right? Yeah. And here you have pending, expired, and by the way, closed. I can show you which was mine. I think it was here. If I can find it. Closed. Maybe not. All right. So maybe no, I can't find it. So yeah, so the system is of voting. Let's talk about that. There are a few options to vote, like and the quorum and everything, like those numbers.
Yeah, and that's not something that's right now happening on Wax. It was the
Okay.
original intention when Labs was developed.
Mm-hmm.
But how it ended up right now is that the Wax team, the Wax core team, decides if a grant is approved or denied.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that led to some questionable decisions in the past and a lot of frustration with people that submitted grants that were neither approved nor declined for a long time. Uh, so
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
why we then, as OIG, stepped in and said, "Hey, let us help you," and we help you work through the grants. So the OIG is now evaluating all proposals and grants. We do that essentially unpaid on our own time and give recommendations on if and why something should be approved or declined. And this also goes to reviews of deliverables. Either we do it ourselves or we try to find somebody that does the review, like a code review, and gives us feedback on is this a good deliverable or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything goes back to the Wax team, and they ultimately decide if they go with our recommendation or have their own idea. And but what we do beyond that, and I think that's something that is very important if you want to foster a healthy ecosystem, is we as IGs do a lot of handholding with the proposals. So we evaluate every proposal and we know what exists on Wax in already in projects because we have this guild system where the guilds need to contribute. We have over 200 public projects that are done by the guilds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tremendous. It's a huge ecosystem of stuff, and nobody knows what exists and where. So we have a better overview of what is useful because we have to know every product. And if we see something among the grants that does not really qualify for a grant or just not in the way, we usually reach out to the developers or whoever submitted the proposal and we go through it with them how we can make this work inside the Wax Labs grants framework. So
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
can be from like turn your product 180 and do everything differently down to just take some parts of what you want to do in your product and make them open source. Make example tutorials out of what you're doing. So that way you maybe cannot get the whole project funded, but you can get like 50% funded because
Mm.
you get it funded as
Good
an
one.
educational grant.
Good one.
So
So I can see that you guys are really, really involved in the community, which is amazing. So from what you're saying is it's a much better experience for a developer.
yeah, at least I hope so. I hope so. I have never gone through labs myself. No, that's not true. I've gone through the first iteration of labs, and I was not leading it. So technically, I didn't go through it. Maybe. Oh, you are, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I need to keep talking because you can't. Because nobody can hear you. Yeah, we try to improve that. And as said, right now we have the system of the OIG gives recommendations and then the Wax team decides, but we're trying to move the ecosystem into a more decentralized area. And one way we want to do this is we want to decentralize the decision making process. So what does not really work is proof of stake. So delegated proof of stake is great for governance, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really work well with grants for labs because you either have not enough participation to have, you don't reach the threshold where enough people are interested in the system to make it safe from abuse and at the same time useful.
Hmm.
So that's why we need to come up with something else, and that's where we think what we want to try to achieve is establishing a foundation where we have different seats, and like right now we have the IG that's giving a recommendation, and then wax team is deciding on it. And the system I want to develop is a system where the wax team is not deciding on the recommendation, but essentially they give a vote, and we have then different entities that have a vote. Like the guilds have a vote or have two votes, the OIG has one vote, the wax team has a vote, and then these votes decide if something is approved or not. So it's not just up to the wax team as one entity, but to a broader experience, broader audience. And to enhance this further, I want to bring back the DPoS aspect that's currently missing. So when somebody wants to introduce a new labs proposal, he has to advertise it and collect votes. And only once a certain vote threshold is met. So when we see people are interested in this project and vote for it with their stake, only when it reaches a certain threshold, then we actually go into it and put down the work to evaluate the project. So
Hmm.
this ensures that the projects that go through labs get more visibility and actually have to care about what they do in terms of marketing it, because we have seen a lot of projects that go through labs very, very silently, then release, get the funds, and then nothing ever happens with the product because it's not properly marketed. So by um, by requiring proposers to engage with the community and the ecosystem, we get more visibility for their products and the projects, and also for labs itself. And
Hmm.
it also takes away some of the work because we don't have to evaluate everything anymore. There's a lot of crap that is submitted to labs that we still have to look at and deep dive into and analyze. But with this essentially filter of the community, we can focus more on the work that matters, on the actual good proposals and the deliverables that have to be reviewed. Because, as
Hmm.
said initially, this is something that we do in addition to all the other stuff we do already. So
What is the biggest amount that was granted?
I think it is 125K for the Unity SDK, but I don't think it was fully paid. So that was a bit of a mess
Hmm.
with
How
two
so?
Unity. We had two Unity. So we had one team working on a Unity SDK, and they did not file for a grant. They did not apply for a grant because they were just working on it as a validator, as BPs, so as
Hmm.
their guild product. And they made several libraries. And then we had somebody else come in and submit a grant, apply for a grant.
Hmm.
And what this guy then did was he just took all the unfinished stuff that we already had and put it together, made some
Hmm.
workarounds to make it halfway working,
Hmm.
and then submitted it, then tried to collect the money for it.
Okay.
This fell apart when he already had claimed like half the funds or something, 50, 60K, and then was giving out the beta version of his SDK that was written from scratch by his developers.
Okay.
And somebody went ahead and decompiled the whole thing. And it was the libraries we already had, just repackaged. Down to the guy was from the UK, and I don't know where his team was from, but it had I think it was Spanish spelling mistakes in there from the original dev. No, it was all written from scratch. So this was, I think, one of the biggest, if not the biggest grant. Um, but because of the whole controversy, and then the original developer of it going in and filing a law claim a copyright infringement because the code was not copyrighted, because it wasn't done. He didn't put a copyright on it yet, so that came on top. So then that original guy that was actually developing the stuff got a grant to finish the Unity SDK as an SDK, and I think that grant was almost as big. I think it was about the same amount, but then in the end, retroactively, they removed some of the deliverables, and that reduced the amount again. So I can't for sure tell which one now is the biggest, but it's somewhere in the 100K, 120K
And
US
how
dollar
many
range.
grants were approved so far?
Oh, you can see that on the overview.
Let's
Completed
see.
43. We have 43 completed, and we have 22 in progress. So of course, there's some old testing stuff in there. So, but you can say about over 60 grants have been approved over the
Since
course.
when did it start?
Oh, that's a good question. It was around in 2020, so it has been a while. Oh, we can actually wait a sec. Let me check. We can just check on the Block
Created the
Explorer,
first
labs.wax.io page
2021 March
21.
5th.
Yeah, yeah. That
This is
was
the
that was the launch of the official labs grant. Okay, yeah. So 2020, we had labs before, so there is also proposals that are not tracked by this smart contract because initially we didn't have that in place. So back then you would just apply for a grant with a wax team, and then they would say we fund you or we don't.
I gotta say, in talking about all these grants, like when I first started going into, which was then Proton Chain, now XPR Network, the community of developers, so the channel in the Telegram, it was very, very active, and people would answer your questions. Compared to now, and it's weird because it's the bull run, right? You don't really build
Yeah.
stuff during the bull run. You just manage what you've built, right? Market and so it's not a rule, but it was weird to see the community just it happened after that proposal, right? Like the activity went down really, really
Yeah.
by a lot, and I'm really not happy with this. I want to see more involvement, more things going to the community to make people, like developers, not just any people, to make developers happy in a playground where they can actually build stuff, not necessarily through the grant system, but just make things easier for people that might not be like very, very experienced developers, for example, but they might have good ideas.
Yes, this is getting more complicated and important as we lost the developer docs. So we had this, I think it was developer.eosio, developer.eos.io. So the original EOSIO docs, but these are not properly maintained anymore and haven't been since, I don't know, CDT 1.85 or something. So it's very, very outdated. And I think there was an approach to have something like that officially from Antelope. But last time I checked, it wasn't properly maintained either. I
Tell
talked about
me
it.
something about Antelope, because you said before we started the live stream, like the thing right now, and I know this because I read this last year. I've been following Dan Larimer since forever, not forever, but since EOS, right? I found out
Yeah.
about him, and so Antelope is the newest version of the EOS, world, right? So tell me something about Antelope and what's the difference.
So I'm not sure if to what extent EOSIO is still maintained actually. So what happened was that Eves and EOS Nation, so the community came together, the BPs on EOS came together and cut out block one out of EOS as a chain. So they took the funds and started the EOS Network Foundation. Then grouped together with a couple other chains to collaborate on the further development of EOSIO, but as a fork called Antelope. So we have the base code base Leap, and then we have the whole Antelope system around it. but
This
some
is the
things,
company, right? B1.com. Is
yeah,
this the
the
company?
old one, like B1. I can't see your screen yet, but yeah, Block One.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I know.
Block
It's
One,
it's legendary. It's
yeah,
$4.2 billion total
yeah,
ICO, right? The biggest one in history. I don't know if anyone will ever come close very soon.
probably not. And they
But
haven't
that
done
was
much with it.
crazy.
Yeah, and they haven't done enough with it, and they didn't manage it properly.
It was
So
yeah, sad.
it was sad to see. They had all these ideas, and then nothing ever came from it. Like they had the social system, then they had the social network they wanted to do, then they had the exchange thing they wanted to do, and then stuff was supposed to be on EOS, and it was supposed to be not on EOS. So there was a lot of back and forth. But I'm
So
not the specialist on the topic of EOS because I never really cared about EOS.
let me tell you like a couple of minutes like some of the story that I put together. So I've been following Dan Larimer. As all great projects start with one dude just trying to do an open source project, change the world, and then some more devs join. Satoshi Nakamoto, same story, right? Um, so Dan Larimer, for the people that can see the screen, this is Dan Larimer, just regular high level geek like us, and he is like a really good developer, like a good. He's good with building software, and the story goes like this: like he worked for Blizzard in the past before starting EOS. He tried. So this is basically in the early days when we were young, right? We were playing games and video games and just minding our own business, not really thinking about software at that point in time. For me, probably for you as well. And he was like, he had this challenge, I think, in Blizzard, where World of Warcraft is basically this game that is a multiplayer online game. For those who don't know, it's an open world, and it's a huge world where a lot of players would come in an open world, in a one server, one realm, right? So the challenge was that they had to increase the number of players per realm, right, per server, and to make the system more efficient, right? And so he came in. I think one of his contributions to this was that he managed to do it with the servers that were available back then with that technology, which was nothing compared to what we have today, to put 25K players on one server. And that was a huge accomplishment because the amount of data exchange between the player and the server, just one player, is huge for World of Warcraft. And so he started doing that, and then he did, I think, Steemit and other sort of like went into the decentralized space, and then he developed EOS, right? The
I think
blockchain.
first was BitShares. Was it
BitShares, yeah, that
BitShares?
was the
Yeah,
first, yeah,
BitShares was the first where he introduced the DPoS algorithm.
for sure.
Then he did Steemit.
Yeah.
Was it Steemit?
Yeah,
Was it called?
Steam.
Yeah, it was still called
.com.
Steemit, and now it's Hive. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was when Wax also came into the picture. So Wax was around with initial token generation in 2017. The plan of Wax was to go with the BitShares algorithm, the DPoS, and then they ultimately went with EOS because it makes sense. EOSIO, not EOS, not EOS, with
Not,
EOSIO.
yeah. So .io, just this to make it simple, EOS.io. So the thing
That's the
is,
wrong Hive.
yeah, it's the wrong hive. But let me go to the right hive. And meanwhile, I want to say that he's the man. I mean, like, he's the father of these blockchain. And for me, I did a lot of research. I talked to the core team a little over a year ago for EOS.io and for IOTA, the blockchain IOTA, and for other blockchains that were, for me, in my mind, candidates that could have the technical specs to allow me to build what I wanted to build, right? So it was about scalability and user friendliness, like, and zero fees. I wanted zero fees first criteria for the end user, of course. Now Hive, which was the correct one? Hive.
Is this Hive.io? It's just HIVE, right?
Like this?
Just to Google
Yeah,
Hive blockchain. Yeah,
this is the
Hive.io.
one. Okay.
Yeah, it was funny because before I became an IG, I wanted to become a block producer, so a validator on Wax as a guild, and the name I picked was Hive. So
Okay.
I bought the premium name Hive on Wax, and then like 2-3 weeks later, they rebranded to Hive, and it was like, oh damn.
Ah. All right. So this is the one. Yeah. So I actually haven't checked this so far. I was so busy with doing, stuff, Web3
No, they're
stuff.
doing a lot of great stuff. I met them a couple times at conferences and stuff.
Look,
So
they
they're
have a
still
lot
doing a
of
lot. Yeah.
exchanges.
Hive is pretty good up front, even after the takeover and fork. So that's pretty cool.
So, what do you know, like more technical stuff about it? Can you say, like, compared to, you know, Proton, XPR, or Wax? Do they have something
I
extra
have
compared to EOS.io?
no, unfortunately not. All I know is that's no. I know it's DPoS. I know I think it's also WebAssembly, but I don't know too much in depth about Hive
So,
because
Hive,
I was so deep in Wax that I never really had to care to look into it.
do we have an article for this? Will the Hive blockchain beat the Steam blockchain? Hive, okay, there we go. Utility comparison on coinexams.com.
Oh, those are
This is interesting.
usually pretty bad.
I never checked these. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time I click something like this. Uh, but maybe it's accurate. Who knows? Maybe so the delay. Okay, so basically, I think they're talking about block time here, right?
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's just looking at the first values. This is nonsense. It's
yeah,
wrong and it's nonsense. So
yeah.
just ignore it.
All right, so let's leave this place.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Never look back.
all right, so then, like, what can we go into, like, deeper stuff that, like, good programmer deep development stuff, like technical specs or performance stuff.
I think most Antelope chains have essentially the same performance. What we can talk about is one issue I see. I don't know if you have looked at it. Is the current decision on EOS to stop the RAM inflation and how the RAM price currently is pumped. I think that's a huge issue. I don't know how the market situation is on XPR, but I can't
Where can I check this?
imagine. If you look at, I don't think Blocks has a RAM chart, right?
Which one?
But if you look at Blocks.io,
Blocks.io.
Blocks right now 1 kilobyte of RAM is costing you 0.52 EOS. So
Does it say something in here? Where should I click?
just on the front page of Blocks.io.
Okay, so
Let me check. I think EOS Authority might have had a RAM price chart.
they don't have it, but hopefully I'm in the right place.
Yeah, EOS Authority has a RAM chart. I'll share it with you. Yeah, wait a second.
No, I got it. .com,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yes, EOSauthority.com. And there you have a RAM price chart. And I think, to me, this is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So for one thing, we have the whole how expensive it is to just create an account.
Where do I go to see the RAM?
Under Manage CPU and RAM, there's a price chart.
So here, if I click here, right, or it's right here, this one.
I think it's under, yeah, you can just either go to Tools, or you go to Wallet. Click on Wallet, and then there is manage RAM and CPU, and then you have the price chart, and you can
Price
look
chart. Okay,
at it.
there we go. Year. Let's go for year. So what's going on here? Walk me through this.
So if you look at the year, can see the price starts. You don't even have to look at a year. December 7th, the price of 1 kilobyte of RAM on Wax was 0.0159 EOS. So it's a couple cents.
Mm-hmm.
And today the price is at 0.52. So
Okay,
this is a huge increase.
a few dollars.
Yeah, that's like what, 35x, something around that. It's not a few dollars. Wax is not EOS is not that expensive. But
This is
it's like 43 something cents per kilobyte. So just creating an account.
this is not good. I mean, what's the point? What's the point of having an inflationary system where you can regulate the price for development, right? If it
Yeah.
goes so high, I mean, that's interesting. So
And if we
go
look
ahead.
at if we look at a new account, it does require like 3 kilobyte or something. I don't know the exact value, but I think it always asked you to put like 3,200 bytes. So let's say about 3 kilobyte. It means that to onboard one user, you now have to pay a minimum of $1.50 just to onboard one user.
What?
And this is not even deploying a smart contract. So if you look at EOSIO.token,
Where do I?
oh, EOSIO token doesn't have RAM consumption, so I have to look at a custom token contract.
All right.
Let me check. So, what the heck?
What?
Yeah, the token contract I was looking at is 4.65 megabytes. So that's not. I don't know why it's so big. So I have to find another token contract. Let me quick check Alcor for another token. Just one random token.
You're checking Alcor?
Yeah, I'm not actually checking Alcor. I just clicked Alcor to get one random account.
Mm.
So I just picked one random token contract, and this token contract consumes 182 kilobytes of RAM. That's just for one token contract.
And because it's so expensive, that equates to how much?
This means that right now you have to pay almost $100 just to deploy a token contract.
That's insane.
And that's not a complex contract. So EOS is getting incredibly expensive for developers to deploy stuff on. We're reaching Ethereum levels again.
This is a concern, but this is why I think long term, as crazy as it sounds, being in XPR that they doubled the supply, it's a good thing for development. So it might not be good for other parts of some BPs left, but yeah, I don't like it when it's expensive. Like currently on XPR, I can create new balances or deploy contracts with basically nothing. I mean, not even 1 or 2 cents. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And right now you can for one or 2 cents you can mint 1,000 NFTs or so on Wax.
Yeah.
So, but on EOS now using EOS is getting expensive, and I think it's always a bad sign or it's an issue with blockchains in general, where the interest of the investors and the holders and the people that just want to make money go contrary to the people that actually want to use the blockchain. And I think that's something we're seeing here, because people want to see the price go up. They want to see the RAM price go up because now they're invested in RAM. But it actually kills the blockchain because it makes it unusable or hard or too expensive to use.
Yeah, the price should be like in this type of blockchain. I've always seen the price as a basically because you have inflation, you have a
Yeah,
regulation mechanism. This is like in even in fiat we have quantitative easing, right? So like it's the same thing, right? So we have to have this because we have to keep the fees low in a period of time where we need developers to create the ecosystem.
yeah, and especially if you want to get anywhere near to mass adoption, you can't have like hundreds of dollars in fees like you have on Ethereum, but you also can't require people to pay upfront to create their account. It's complicated, and if you
Yeah.
then say whoever is onboarding these people has to pay, this is also a hindrance.
It is. It is. You're gonna look at
So
all the chains, and you're gonna go to the one that is cheaper. That's
yeah,
how I see it.
I I just hope that they have a plan in their back pocket to make this feasible, but I haven't yet followed up on that. So, but if I look at my own contracts are usually somewhere around the 2 MB. So honestly, I don't want to buy 2 MB of RAM on EOS right now.
I feel you. Like I feel
Absolutely
you.
not. Absolutely not. Before you do that, I can deploy on Ethereum. It's cheaper.
Yeah, and that's worse as well. So I
Yeah.
mean, not worse, but still bad. I mean, what can we do? I mean, we don't have any other better options. For me, in my view, I don't see any other solution for me to have a zero fees for the end user except to pay for the account of the user when they create it. Like
Oh, you're
that for me
looking at the
solved
wrong
the
chart.
problem.
I didn't see that. You have to go to manage CPU RAM.
Manage CPU RAM. Where is it?
Scroll down on the left.
Okay, manage CPU RAM. Here. And what do I do now?
I don't know. I don't see your screen. So I always have to wait for YouTube to catch up.
So I just enter an amount here.
No, 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 no. There should be at the top a price chart, so you don't have to enter anything. Let me see.
There's no
Oh,
price.
interesting. For me, it shows the
Oh, there we go.
RAM.
I see
Oh,
the
you
chart.
have to go RAM market sell buy on the there's a chart.
Yeah, I see the chart now.
Yeah,
So it's crazy how it went from this state of being really flat,
yeah.
like going sideways, and now where I guess it was April, like this is now. I mean, this is like 3 days ago, right? It started going
Yeah.
up. What happened? It's recent.
I don't know what happened the last couple days. It's not that much compared to previous. Oh, it's actually it is.
Oh, it
I don't
is.
know. They were talking about starting to pay BPs in RAM, and there have been some other obscure ideas. I haven't followed that. I have to read up on what they're talking about. So I don't know what caused the spike over the last week. I know the original spike was they stopped the RAM inflation, so I think all other EOSIO chains or Antelope chains issue 1 KB of RAM with every block. Every block RAM increases. So this of course also creates an issue because it also means servers have to grow according to the RAM consumption on the chain. And at some point you can reach a point where you can buy quality grade servers that are fast enough to maintain the chain and at the same time have sufficient RAM. So at some point you get it into range.
This is a problem because if that increases, like you're saying, like and the number of nodes or block producers stay the same or just really slowly catches up, it's going to be a huge problem. I asked about this in the beginning in the community. Nobody had an answer, or they just didn't want to answer.
It's not about the number of block producers. It's about the RAM each individual producer has. So there's two issues. So on one hand, the producer needs to actually have the entire RAM. So it has to have the entire chain in RAM and has to provide all the RAM that is actually used on the chain. It doesn't have to provide all the RAM that can potentially be bought, but it has to have all the RAM that can be
That is
bought.
currently used, yeah.
So, and most producers that are these days used have a cap of 128 GB of RAM. Because
Okay, so
that's the cap for end user CPUs.
Okay,
And
so
if you
the
go,
problem is basically the individual server
yeah, the
configuration,
individual server,
not the distributed
yeah,
part.
it's not the distributed part, it's the individual servers. And going from 128 to 256 is a big increase in expense for the server itself.
Mhm.
So the servers you buy or rent are more expensive, and at the same time, they're slower producers. They have worse performance just because they're not made for this level of data transactions. So they're
That's
just
crazy.
the CPUs are just slower. And if you go bigger, usually these CPUs get more cores along with more RAM, but we don't need more cores. So you have this huge overhead to buy like Ryzen Threadripper CPUs, but you don't actually need that because what you need is like 5 to 6 cores,
Hmm.
especially on the producer that it, it's, it has gotten better. I was told that multi-threading is better with the new EOSIO versions, Antelope versions, but we're still not at a point where having many CPUs makes sense. And as you should not run anything else on your producer, having to have this huge overhead is just a waste. And on the other hand, everybody that has to run producers or servers nodes to maintain the chain, to maintain servers like exchanges. Exchanges usually run their own nodes. And if they have to run like Ryzen Threadrippers with 500 gigabytes of RAM just to be able to support the chain, yeah, I can promise you people will just stop supporting our chains. So I get why they stopped the RAM inflation, but this does not mean that it works without RAM inflation. We have to find a new solution.
This is concerning, coming from someone that I'm a developer, but I don't have so much experience in EOS chain. So because we are basically running in WAX and XPR the older version, not the improved RAM versions that the latest Antelope has, or uh, I don't know, other initiatives maybe that are in Hive, or like, I mean, Hive is also based on some
It's
version
not
of,
EOSIO
right?
based.
No?
Hive is based on Steemit. Hive is a Steemit fork.
Oh, okay. So
So
it has
it's the
nothing
other
to
way
do with the.
around. EOSIO is rather based on Steemit or Hive.
Okay, so you're saying that it's a fork from Steemit Hive?
It's not a fork. I think I would assume since it's all then Larimer, there is some overlap, but I don't think I have never compared it on
Mhm,
that level.
mhm.
I
Interesting.
don't
Very
even
interesting.
know if they have the same resource model for RAM. I don't think so. I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't know. So can't tell. Don't want to
Mhm.
tell if something is wrong.
All right. So this has been very educational, especially all the technical parts and concerns that we have for all the EOS blockchains and the children of EOS. Uh, right. Go ahead, try. Like the daddy is over there. So I mean, RAM issues, technical stuff, but still, with all these issues, there are some positive takes. We still have very short block times, zero fees for the end user, username instead of that complicated string of addresses, which is a nightmare to manage, especially if you have multiple addresses. So username is the way to go. And Vitalik Buterin is crying in his sleep because he doesn't have it, right? Right, Vitalik? So anyway, so I think I want to thank you for sharing all this knowledge and insight, and I think it's a wrap for now. And I want to keep the invite open for you. So anytime you want to have some fun with me and you know, talk some shit about EOS, or in a polite and diplomatic way,
Yeah, sure.
but bring out the not just the good stuff, and shilling is caring, but also sharing insights,
There's a
like,
lot of
yeah,
stuff we didn't cover, not
yeah,
even
there's a lot.
remotely.
There's a
So
lot.
yeah,
But there's plenty of time for that. We are young, so we're gonna live, forever because, we have a good diet and we exercise.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I want to thank you again, Kaefer. So all right, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care.
Take care. See you
Enjoy
soon,
your
guys.
evening.
Enjoy.
Bye.